Game started.
Oh, Goliat. I've played him many times. Let's start out with d4. We have a record of 13 wins. I have a record of 13 wins, 14 losses, and 2 draws against Goliat. So he has a slight advantage over me. Okay, knight c6 against d4. What is that? Well, if I play c4, we're going into the Chigorin, or I could play e4. c4, d5 would be like the Chigorin defense. If I play e4 and he plays e5, what is this? Let's see, I can take and he just takes back with a knight, so I guess I should push. So, he's probably played this opening against me before. I could play for f4 here, couldn't I? f4, there's no check on this diagonal at the moment. If he takes and I take, and then he clears the diagonal, I always have bishop to g3 there to defend that, against the check on this diagonal. The pawn is loose, the e-pawn is loose. I have to be careful about that. But knight g6, bishop g3 seems okay, because there's no there's no double attack. A lot of times if the queen comes out here with check, you block with the g-pawn and then he takes the e-pawn. That's dangerous in these King's Gambit-like situations, which is this sort of resembles because I've given up the f-pawn here. But I've knocked out one of his center pawns. I've knocked out the e-pawn. So I've gained something in exchange for the loss of the... Yeah, he's attacking my e-pawn. I'm wondering whether I want to defend it with the knight on c3 or d2. Maybe it's a good idea to not block the c-pawn. I can get in c4 later. So yeah, let's develop the bishop. I guess I'm going to have to play bishop to f2 here to block this diagonal and then castle kingside. But it seems like I want to castle kingside in this structure, get a rook on the open f file. Maybe the bishop should have gone to d3 to add more defense to the e-pawn. If he takes, I'll take back with the king. That's the only way to take back. And then I can still play rook f1 and king g1, sort of castling by hand. And I will have gotten rid of this nice attacking dark squared bishop, so it's worthwhile. If he doesn't take, I'll just castle. So either way, I think it's okay. He's going after the light squared bishop. Still, I wanted to castle. So that's interesting. He's brought his knights forward.
Check.
Okay, takes here. Now I'm going to take with the rook. And now he's putting pressure on the e-pawn when I don't have a great way to defend it. He's got 2 attackers, so let's defend with the bishop. Yeah, so if the bishop had gone to d3 in one move, that might have been a smoother way to play. I guess I could have tried something like... That's interesting. He's pinning the knight. This knight, though, is not... it's not defending any key squares at the moment. So I'll just unpin. Maybe even bring a rook to the e-file and push the e-pawn forward. That's kind of an idea here, maybe. This knight on f4 is kind of an annoyance. It's not really ever going anywhere because... oh, maybe after I move my knight it is. I can't, my point is I can't play, I cannot play the move g3 here to kick the knight because he has knight h3 with a check on my king and forking the king and rook. So this knight is kind of a permanent feature of the position. But I can play e5, Or if I could move this knight with tempo somewhere. Or I could play rook e1. Let's just play rook e1 for now, holding onto the pawn. And then let's maneuver my knight a bit. This comes with the immediate threat on the knight. He takes, I take, and then he can move his knight with tempo, hitting my knight. His queen hits my knight here, so maybe this was not good. But let's think about it. He takes, I take. If he plays knight takes here, I can take back with the rook. I'll have pressure on f7 if he does this. Knight takes. So the idea is knight takes e4, pawn or knight takes back, queen takes, so he's sacrificing his knight to pick up a knight and gain a pawn, and then I can take on f7 with the rook. I'm not sure how I should take back. I can take back with the pawn, the knight, or the rook. Okay, decided not to do that. So in this case, I was just going to go to f5, hitting his queen. Let's see, his queen actually, oh, he just decided to take it. His queen could have gone to e5 there. It might have been interesting, but I could kick it again with a knight move with this other knight. Okay, so now we've got a simpler situation. It's clarified a bit. The pawns are even, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 7. 7 and 7, but my pawns have this kind of funny structure. And so he has a more coherent pawn structure. Maybe I have pressure on the open file, though. So I want to lift up my queen. Maybe triple, or maybe bring the queen out to the king side here. And I'm not, I guess, worried about him gaining space on the queen side right now. He did take away a square from my knight, that's true. The knight can still come to f3 to... knight f3 to g5 right away might be an idea too. Let's see, but if I play knight f3, it blocks the retreat of my rook. He can play g6, kicking it. Here. I think it's okay. But maybe knight g5 is not possible. Knight g5, and then he can play g6, hitting my rook, and the rook moves back, and then he takes my knight. So that's not so great. So he just goes there. Now knight g5 is interesting because if he plays g6, I can take his knight. It gives me a target there. He'll probably play h6 right away and kick the knight. So maybe this wasn't so great. Yeah. So should I go back where I was, or should I go to h3? Let's go to h3. I didn't like that idea of the knight, the rook getting kind of trapped there, although even now it's not really trapped. Queen up. Queen can come to f3 now. It's not in the way of the knight. Queen f3 and the rook over. He can't really make headway against this pawn structure. He has no good way to undermine it. If he moves his c-pawn, I'll take en passant. Yeah, I guess one of the ideas in the position would have been to pile up on the c-pawn, but I haven't been doing that. I've been focusing on the king side. So how are we doing on time? Okay, yeah, I'm just going to take that. So now pawn structure is a little simpler. I have 2 pawns against 1 in the center, and he has 3 against 2 on the king side. And other than that, we're pretty even. But he's now able to penetrate on the c-file, so he accomplished something with that move. So, do I want to triple on the f-file, or do I want to do a knight maneuver? The knight could now go to d5. It looks like an interesting square. His knight's protecting it. I still have to worry about g3 kicking my rook, huh? Let's triple. Maybe there's a rook sack here. Exchange sack. Take the knight. Pawn takes. Or queen takes, pawn takes. And then I pick up this pawn. And I've got a rook and a knight. Yeah, he's getting active here, huh? Let's see, can I do something about those pawns on the queen side? Yeah, I sort of hate to just defend like that, but if I play rook to f2, then I'm in a bit of trouble. He can check on the back rank and force my rook back. Yeah, this would be kind of drawish. Not what I was looking for. Yeah, I may have to retreat. this whole episode on the king side maybe did not accomplish a whole lot. Check. He takes, I take. Yeah, I think it's adequately defended there. If his knight comes in, I can take the knight. And queen can go there. Huh. So he's going to take the pawn here anyway. Maybe now's the time to take his knight. This is not as good, actually, as the previous time, but I have knight to g4. But he can defend with the king, so I don't get the pawn for the exchange. Okay, so let's move this pawn so I can unpin. Let's see, the knight can hop into this d5 square I mentioned earlier. He's got that rook. He's got that pawn now. It's tough. It's tough. Let's see, knight here. There's some trick. Need to activate the rook, huh? Activate my rook and get my pawn going. His pawn structure around his king is a bit broken up, but he's just he's defending everything. He didn't even grab the pawn there, which he could have, and chose instead to defend. Maybe not a bad choice. Okay, a little space for my king. I guess I could play rook to f5, hit this pawn. He's going after the pawn that way. So I have this little trick here. I'm hitting his rook, and I can grab this pawn over here. But he's grabbed a lot more pawns of mine than I have of his. So yeah, overall, this the knight and the rook are just not up to the battle. The two rooks are more powerful. So what is he? 1 2 1 2 1 2 3 1 2. He's just one pawn up, but he's also up the exchange. Yeah, I'm gonna keep taking pawns. If we get enough pawns off, I can head for some kind of endgame draw. Here and here, these pawns are conveniently located, and he has to decide if he wants to defend. Yeah, he chooses to defend. Defend or attack is always a bit tricky. But he needs to keep some pawns on to help with his winning chances. So he goes after my knight. Is my knight close to getting trapped? Knight there, rook takes. Rook here. I don't see any tactics. Knight can come back to here. And then back to F4 there is a good outpost for the knight. Yeah, he can win some more pawns over here. At least he can't check me because the knight guards this square very conveniently. And I've got rook here to try and pick up these pawns. Got to keep fighting. You never know when he's going to stumble into a knight fork too. So. All right, what now? At the check, I take his rook. He can retreat his rook somewhere and try and threaten checkmate. But let's see, rook covers that square, knight covers that square. And here the king is still hitting the rook here. If he were to put his rooks over here in the A and B files, then a rook down here would be checkmate. But over here it's not checkmate as long as there's a rook over here.
Check.
I'll pick up another pawn. I get to do it. Oh, I didn't see that. Okay, I'll resign. I was thinking I was just picking up another pawn. Okay, I will upload this into a postmortem. See you guys later. Bye.